What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Tackling Mental Health. I'm your host, Torrey Smith, and I'm excited about today's episode. We're joined by a special man, Dr. Kojo Sarfo, a psychiatrist, a TikTok influencer, just an overall great man and author. Thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. I'm excited to talk to you. I learned right away from reading your bio, which is about as long as a book. You've accomplished so much at an early age. What was your motivation to really get to where you are today?
I appreciate it. I would say my motivation, is my father. We left Ghana, which is in West Africa, when I was one. We went to Norway, then we came to the States. And, he took so many odd jobs. He and my mother working as janitors, working at gas stations to try and, create the opportunities that we had as kids. So once I was able to go to school and things like that, I just told myself that I would, make sure that all the hard work you put in, it wasn't going to be in vain.
I know so many people from over in Africa, and a lot of folks who are born here in the United States, they have the wrong image from what it's really like over there. The people,
Right.
Their work ethic, their love and value of education. What does that mean to you to really kind of be your parents' wildest dream?
It means a lot to me because, growing up, my parents were always pushing education, even on the, like during the summer breaks. I want to go outside and, play football and basketball. I had dreams of being an athlete, but my parents were like, no, like you need to get back in the house, start reading some books. Kids are going to be reading during the summer and they're going to come back to school in the fall and they're going to be smarter than you. So I had that pressure on me. And fortunately, I was able to, make something out of it. But in an African household, education is extremely important.
And you have your book, You
Yes,
Already
sir.
Won, right? That title alone just grabs my attention because it's all about empowerment of self. Can you tell everyone about the book?
Yeah, so the book is out on Amazon. You Already Won: A Journey Through Education, Nursing and Mental Health Awareness. And in this book, I talk about my journey, going through school, and as somebody who I was struggling in high school, was rejected from a lot of colleges, and I made it to college, was able to get a doctorate degree and help out a lot of people. But I tell two stories at once. I'm talking about my journey, and at the same time, I'm talking about the importance of mental health awareness and how it's something that we don't talk about that often. And when the book came out in 2019, I would say we still didn't really talk about mental health like that. And it's very remarkable to see how people are speaking about it more. So that was kind of my way of telling my story and putting it out there. And like, as you know, it's very scary to come out and to speak on mental health, especially as a man and as a Black male too, because nobody else is doing it around you. You like to look around and see if people are doing it before you do it. But I didn't see anybody who was doing it. So when I put my story out there, it was like liberating. I didn't have to be afraid of anything. I didn't have to be ashamed of having ADHD or struggling in school. I just put it out there, and I was actually amazed by the people who gravitated towards me and were like, "I'm going through this. I'm going through that." So it was actually a really good feeling.
And that's what I love the most. And that's why I believe it's important for everyone to share their story. Because if people only saw you right now as the final product, they would
Right.
ignore all the different things that you went through to get to this point, and really the things that help to make you the man that you are. And to be able to overcome
Right.
adversity and really learn how to manage it. Because sometimes we view mental health struggles as a one-time thing. I feel
Yeah.
like it's a journey, right? It's not going
Yeah.
to be an easy fix. You just have to always learn how to keep things into control, but it's not something that you're just equipped with. Like sometimes you need help. You need to reach out to someone.
Yeah.
And you're a person that actually helps people now with those issues. Well, you use TikTok, right, to
Yes, sir.
draw awareness to it. And it's a big deal to be able to share on social media. I tell people all the
Appreciate
time
it.
that our issues that we have, a lot of it for us millennials and the younger generation is that a lot of our problems exist and come from our phone, right? The
Right.
access that we have more access than our parents.
Right.
The problems can come right to your face. So I feel like the solution has to be there as well, which is why I love what you're doing and sharing your messages. Why is it important for you to use social media as a way to reach everyone?
Because that's where things are headed nowadays. Everybody's on their phone. I'm on my phone. Whenever I have like a quick, break or whatever, I'm even at the gym, sometimes I'll be watching funny memes and stuff like that. So that's where the attention is. And I remember something that my younger brother mentioned a couple years back. He said that he was in class one day and nobody was paying attention to teachers. They were all on their phone watching TikTok. And this is before I started. And it made me think like, okay, if I can get their attention there, you can tell people anything. You can use the internet for good or for bad. Like we're watching, we're on our phones 24/7, whether it's sports highlights or cooking recipes, people are glued to their phones. So I figured that if I could, put my message and my story, on a platform like TikTok, and I didn't know how powerful it was when I started. And I still don't really understand how powerful it is, but the videos get a lot of views and it helps out a lot of people. But I think that's the primary way that we should be communicating with other people, because we have so much debate about, is it good, is it bad? I know there's both sides to it, but I feel like if you take it for what it's worth and use it for good, it can help out a lot of people. And I've seen that through messages and DMs and emails, and it's overwhelming to really understand what's going on. But I'm just grateful for it.
So there's this 4-letter word that's very popular in elementary schools, high schools, and middle schools all across the country, and that's ADHD. That's something that you talk about all the time on your TikTok and social media platform. A lot of people don't really know what it means, and
Right.
You're the professional. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. So it's a highly misunderstood condition. ADHD is a cluster of symptoms, and it has to do with inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. And you have to meet the criteria by either having like a lot of inattentive symptoms, a lot of hyperactive symptoms, or impulsive symptoms to the point where it impacts your life. Like you're not able to get things, assignments done on time because you're late. You interrupt people. So you might be awkward in social situations. You have a hard time organizing yourself, and everybody forgets things from time to time. But with the person who has ADHD, it does severely impact your life. And you are supposed to see symptoms before the age of 12, but as we all know, some people don't have access to healthcare, and if you don't get a chance to talk to a professional, you'll never know that you have it. And that was the case for me. Like I knew that I had it, as a kid, and I would tell my mom. I would see kids being pulled out of 3rd grade to take medications. Now I tell my mom to get checked out, but she would say, we're gonna pray for you. You're the healed of the Lord. And I don't even blame her, because that was a narrative in Black families, especially coming from West Africa. And they don't know that, ADHD is a neurodevelopmental disorder affecting kids and things like that. All they know is that my child doesn't have anything and my child is smart and they're going to be fine. So that was my journey, going through, and I got diagnosed when I was 25, in grad school. So I had made it all the way through school, and I was working on a doctorate before I got diagnosed, but I knew that I had it. And for a lot of people, they know that they have ADHD because it affects them to the point where it's affecting your relationships, it's affecting your finances. Adults with ADHD sometimes lose thousands of dollars in income, due to their symptoms, whether it's just organization or being impulsive and going on Amazon shopping spree or whatever the case may be. But it affects a lot of people, and something that it has to be addressed. And I talk about it on TikTok. I say that, undiagnosed ADHD, you run the risk of sexually transmitted infections, high rate of car accidents, substance use disorders. So a lot of times people are frustrated and they don't know how to, handle life because these things are going on. So I bring awareness to it on, TikTok. And when somebody comes to me and they say that, oh, I watched your videos and, I found a psychiatrist in my city and now I started treatment and it's changed my life. That means a lot to me because I've never met this person. They might be in Kansas or Ohio or Florida, but they watched like a silly 8-second video with bad dancing and somehow it changed your life. So I'm just grateful that I can use my story to help impact other people.
And that's amazing. I love it because it's so necessary. As a child that struggled with it myself and didn't really get treatment or even had a question until I was an adult, probably like 27. I'll just ask, like, let me get checked just to see.
Right.
Like I already knew, but I realized that I made it through so far because I always had good grades. Right. I kind of learned strategies myself. Like, for example, in college, I would have to write my papers on notebook. I could have no technology around. nothing that could distract me, because
Okay.
I would be in a whole nother world and just be completely off subject. And so I kind of learned to do things then. But like when you get good grades, it's like it hides things. So people are like, oh,
Yeah.
he's fine. Well, something that may take someone an
Mhm.
hour to do, it
Mhm.
may take me 3 to 4 hours to do.
Exactly.
And I kind of started to deal with that. But then even with emotions or like
Mhm.
kind of impulsive and conversations, like they really can throw you off. And so I decided to get it checked out, because of full transparency. I was wondering, like, how is this impacting me? Like, I'm not worried about football, right? I was
Right.
always fine with football.
Right.
But I was concerned about like my own personal life, with
Yeah.
my family, like being present while being present, right?
Mhm.
That was always a struggle for me, because my mind would be all over the
Right.
place. But I think it's important what you're doing, because now people don't view it as like, oh, they're trying to do something for attention. Like, no, there's something going on. And I have a child right now that I see he's a mini me. So I'm
Right.
making sure I for sure don't handle it like, I was taken care of as a child.
And I like that point that you brought up. And with ADHD, sometimes if you're, let's say, high functioning, you might struggle, because with ADHD, the person who has ADHD, you have a hard time shifting attention. So if you have to do 3 assignments, studies have shown that you'll be stuck on the first assignment longer than the person who doesn't have it. So it'll take you a while to get from task A to task B to task C. So it might take you 8 hours where it took the other person 2 hours, but people don't see that. And when people who have ADHD or do something that they love and they're good at, they can do that better than other people, right? So if you're a wide receiver and you're really good at it, it doesn't take you much effort because you enjoy football. So you'll go to practice, you'll get to the NFL, you'll win rings, but then that doesn't mean that at home you might not struggle with emotional dysregulation, feeling up one day, feeling down one day, having a hard time, even with things like laundry or dishes or even just cleaning your bed. Sometimes people can have all the degrees in the world, but still struggle with simple tasks because of ADHD. So I think it's important to bring awareness to that. So that way people don't feel like, oh, I'm so good at this one thing. Why can't I do this? These simple tasks right here.
Yeah, and listen, that's me. So y'all, I'm the man he's talking about. But I appreciate it's very important that you're doing that.
I'm a big fan of any help that I can get, and the more I talk about it, it makes it okay for other people to go out and get the help. And when they come back and tell me, "Oh, I just had an appointment with a therapist and it felt so good," I'm like, I told you, like this is what I've been trying to talk about for years. So I think it just takes one person being, unashamed to just talk about what they're going through, and the help that they require. So, and I appreciate you asking that question, because like nobody talks about the person who's helping other people. So I think it's important for especially somebody like me to really tap into all my resources.
And you mentioned that one of your things that you like to do for your stress reliever is watch football.
Yeah.
Who's your squad?
So you're not gonna like this answer, but I'm a Titans fan. I love the
No, that's
Tennessee
fine.
Titans.
Yeah. So this is a great. I love that you're a Titans fan, because it's great for this conversation. You guys haven't been good for a long time,
Right.
so that's a very stressful. I'm just kidding. Now the Titans are a better team right now, but I know Sundays, depending on
Yeah.
how Sundays go, it can impact your Monday, and that's
Right.
relatable to a lot of fans. So I love that you love the game. I love
Uh-huh.
that it's an outlet for you. It's an outlet for me. It
Yeah.
went from being on the field to now away from it. I watch games with my kids and kind of just brings everything on down.
Mhm.
Just brings the problems that I think are huge. It
Right.
goes away for a little while, and I'm able to just relax and get my mind away. So I
Right.
definitely appreciate sports in that aspect. But I
Right.
wanted to talk about just the stigma in general, right? You're doing a lot to
Right.
break that down simply by communicating.
Mhm.
What are some of the issues that you've seen dealing with clients about the stigma of mental health and why they don't want to get it, especially in the African American community?
Right. So I think it cuts deep into your identity. I remember I had a patient back when I was doing the inpatient psych back in Virginia, and she had bipolar disorder, and she was super talented, young girl, pretty. She's like 22. She had her whole life in front of her, and so talented, very, very smart in school. And she kept coming back to the hospital. And like the second or third time she was crying, she told me, I finally accept the fact that I have bipolar disorder. I need my medication. I'm willing to take it. And I want to get back to being the student that I am. I want to go back to living my life. I want to go back to my boyfriend and my parents, and and all that. And I could see like in her face that she was struggling to like come to terms with the fact that you have this condition.
Mm.
And sometimes that's why I tell people whenever I'm on TikTok or Instagram, I say, for example, like myself, like I have ADHD, but ADHD doesn't have me. And it's important to phrase it that way because if you don't, it's gonna cut into your identity. Like ADHD is not my identity. Like I do all these different things, you know, I feel like I'm successful, and ADHD is not gonna be like the reason why I don't get to where I want to be at. So I think when we can detach ourselves from our diagnoses, you know, as part of being like part of our identity, that can help out a lot, you know, and especially in our community, you know, when like if you let's say you know you meet somebody and they tell you that they have like bipolar or schizophrenia, like from the way I grew up, you know, let's say I'm 16 and I hear that, I'm going to be scared. I'm going to be like, oh my, are they going to like hurt me? Are they going to attack me? When the studies show that people with mental illnesses are actually more likely to be the victim of an attack as opposed to the person who's inflicting the damage. So I think it's important to understand that people have these things. People have depression, anxiety, ADHD, bipolar, mood disorders, and it's okay to have that. But I tell the kids all the time on Instagram, I'm like, you know, you can have that and it's okay. Like we'll help you out. But if you can, try not to make it your identity, you know. And sometimes kids will comment on the post and the name would be like depressed teen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's just, you know, maybe how they identify at that time. But, you know, like I'll say it's okay to have depression, but go out and get help, but try not to make it be a part of your identity. Because if that's like, when you think of yourself, if the first thing you think of is your condition, it can like, you know, interfere with your self-esteem. So I say it's okay to have a condition and get help, but try not to let it be a part of your identity. And I think that's what's going on in our community, because people just aren't talking about it, you know?
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. And social media, again, I love the fact that you are using your influence that way because that's where you see the majority of the issues.
Right.
Again, the issues that you didn't know, like some people may not think they're attractive because of social media.
Yeah.
That wasn't an issue as that
I
was as
see that
much in
all the
your
time.
face in the past, right? Or even
Yeah.
friends, or if you're like literally likes themselves, they'll
Yeah.
like a button on social media.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't get a lot of those, so people don't like me, people don't love me.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that you're jumping in and intervening there because it's very important for what we're doing. But I
Yeah.
appreciate you coming on here, sharing your story, giving your advice. I know I've taken a lot from this conversation,
Appreciate it.
and I love what you're doing. Continue to be a light. Where can people learn more about what you're doing and how to follow you?
Yeah, so you know, my two primary channels are on TikTok and Instagram. So on TikTok it's at Dr. Sarfo. At Instagram is just at Dr. Kojo Sarfo, DrKojo And on my Instagram bio, if you click the link in there, it'll take you to the podcast, the book, and all the other stuff that I'm doing. So it'll take you to my website as well. So I'll probably say Instagram might be like the best place to start, to just click there and then you can just find out everything that I'm doing online.
I love it. Tell me a little more about the podcast. We can't leave without talking about
Okay.
You were dropping gems here as we're tackling mental health. We need to hear what you have going on your side.
Yeah, so we just wrapped up season 1 of recording my podcast. It's called What's Good with Dr. Kojo. We're doing it here in Los Angeles, where we're interviewing you know, celebrities and you know, mainly content creators, you know, within this online space. We're talking about mental health awareness. We're talking about what's going on in their life. We're talking about how they're adjusting, you know, within the pandemic. So I've learned a lot, you know, just being out here in LA and talking to people. And I've taken a lot of those lessons to, you know, help me out as well. But that podcast, the first episode was released Tuesday, a couple of days ago. So it's on YouTube, Spotify, you know, Google Play, iTunes. And you can also subscribe to it as well, like if you go to YouTube page. So it's pretty cool.
All right, cool, man. I'm looking forward to checking it out. And if you need me, don't hesitate to reach out.
For sure.
Again, thank you so much for coming on the show and continue to be a light.
Thank you so much.